So when I started doing this reflection for this year, this 2023 has been kind of a shit show of a year, to be honest. It has had massive ups, massive downs, and redirection like I never, ever would have fucking imagined. Hello, welcome back to the Essence Show podcast. This is the final episode of 2023, and we're doing an episode in the Live in Essence series, which is basically live, me, Olivia, in essence. How do I live in essence? How do I live in essence with the cyclical nature of my womb and my cycle and all of those things as it pertains to how I run a business, how I work, how I live my life, all of those things. So I am really going to pull back the curtain for you today and give a very personal and vulnerable breakdown of what 2023 was like for me, the massive lows that I had, the subsequently very good highs and really amazing things that happened this year, and where that kind of leaves me going into 2024, where that potentially leaves you as it pertains to wanting to work together, show up in what I do here at Oflow in my business, and also going into how I'm framing this upcoming year, my word of 2024, and how I'm planning for it. So actually using everything that I talk about here, working in essence with your cyclical nature to plan your upcoming year and do goal setting a little bit differently. So before we dive in, please, I invite you to hit that subscribe button. Come and follow along as we continue to grow and expand in this upcoming year. If you have been listening to this podcast for a while, if you've been a supporter this year, since we really only started it at the beginning of 2023 and it has grown immensely, we hit over 2,000 downloads this year, which is huge for me, huge for us. So if you've been following along, I invite you to do a little gift giving this time of year, this holiday season, and leave a rating and review. It really helps our podcast so much. It helps to reach the right people. It helps people when they find the podcast and they're searching to see that it's something that they actually want to listen to, that other people are enjoying. So I would really, really, really love for you to take a little minute to do that. Or if you're watching this on YouTube, you can just drop a comment in the description or in the comment section below. And that is equally powerful and supportive. So thank you so much for being here. And if you do want to look forward into 2024 and this work is resonating with you, you're wanting to learn how to live in your essence with your cyclical nature, how to plan, how to balance your life, how to actually have enough energy, how to be productive when you want to be productive, and how to achieve success in a way that feels really, really good, then I am going to invite you to head down to the description below or in the show notes, because I'm breaking down what 2024 is going to look like, what some options are that are available for you. We're doing things a little bit different in 2024, which I will hopefully have time to touch on in this episode today. But it's going to be very chill, I would say, from an external perspective, which means you're not going to be seeing a lot of launching or a lot of things that are available to you. So it's really, really going to be good for you to know what the vibe is, and then for you to just consider what is it that you might want to act on here so that you have the opportunity to do so before, the opportunity isn't there anymore. So I'd love to just start this episode by doing a little reflection and by sharing with you that this is something that I've done for as long as I can remember. Goal setting and New Year's resolutions have always been something that has been fun for me as a type A organized goal getter and wanting to achieve lots of things, highly ambitious and high achieving woman that I am. I've always loved setting goals in the new year. However, I will say that it has often come with an immense amount of pressure and stress to perform in the upcoming year. And as I really, over the last couple of years, have looked back and reflected on how I did goal setting, I realized that, again, so much of it was from this place of I need to achieve what looks good on the outside, what are big markers that I want to hit, And I wasn't necessarily considering or taking into consideration how I actually wanted to feel along that journey. It was always about just getting to the outcome. And this is a massively masculine energy approach to goal setting. And it's totally normal that so many of us do it because that is the way that we're taught to achieve goals. It's very much based on these markers, external goals. I mean, SMART goals are a great example of that. How measurable is your goal? And although those things can be really important, I really like to see those as a secondary step. It's like what we look at once we've actually established the baseline of how we want to feel this upcoming year, how we want our year to unfold for us, as opposed to us chasing things this upcoming year. And anytime we're chasing something, we're taking ourselves out of the feminine receptivity energy that is very innate within us. That is that like womb wisdom, essentially, where we're very, very easily, when we're in the right energy, when we're working with our bodies, able to attract the things that we desire into our lives because that alignment is there. As soon as we work against our bodies, we're pushing, we're forcing, we're pressuring ourselves. We start to feel that in our body with the dis-ease or the stress or the anxiety that we feel. And then we kind of start to create this tension or this dissonance that takes us out of alignment. So when I started doing this reflection for this year, this 2023 has been kind of a shit show of a year, to be honest. It has had massive ups, massive downs, and redirection like I never, ever would have fucking imagined. So it started off really, really well with me going back to Canada to visit my family for the new year, for Christmas last year. And it really felt like a closing off of a chapter. It felt like coming to peace with this past version of myself because I had gone to university in Canada. I have worked in Canada, and it kind of felt like a coming back home to finish something off because I left in quite a hurry as the beginning of COVID came. And so, yeah, going back felt like a finishing up of an old story. And I had a lot of plans for 2023. But when I look back, a lot of them came from this pressure place, specifically as it pertains to my business, where I thought, okay, I'm going to do a lot of things so that things start really flowing. But what I didn't take into consideration is that this was actually a year of reset. And when I think back and I'm really honest about it, I know that it was a year of reset. And I know that that's how it felt at the beginning of the year. But I created so much pressure around having to achieve bigger goals around that as well. So it kind of got lost in the sauce, basically, the real true intention or what needed to happen. So what that basically led to was anything that I tried to push off the ground from this pushy, forcey energy just didn't work. So one of those things was a membership that I tried to launch this year. And we had a super fun launch. There was an amazing 5-day event that we did, which got so much great feedback and lots of engagement. But then nothing else happened. And truly, when I think back to that, it is the biggest blessing because nothing about the membership actually felt good. It was a decision that was made from a place of pressure and forcing and thinking that's a great way to get repeated consistent income every single month, because if you have enough people, again, math for a low monthly subscription rate, then you have some sustainable baseline every single month. And one of the things that I was really feeling tired with was actually one-on-one coaching. And the reason behind all of these things not working, the one-on-one coaching starting to slow down, and that's where that thought came in of, okay, how can I fix this? And fixing is never the energy that we want to show up with. We never want to come from this place of, this is a problem. How can I fix this problem as fast as possible? Because then we're just looking for the Band-Aid solution. What we really want to do is sit in the solution of, this already feels good. How can it already feel good now? And how can I therefore give space for a solution to come through? So basically, I went down some different paths this year that didn't end up playing out or working out. And I want to share that with you because this is normal. This is how life goes. And this feeling of needing to do it one time and it being perfect, although of course we can have like moments like that go really well for us, that is not the end all be all goal. And when things don't work out, the rejection is actually your redirection. It's giving you a different path and the opportunity to see things more clearly. And that's essentially what ended up happening. So I was given this redirection, which at the point felt like one of the lowest points that I had been through. And this, quite honestly, started in October 2022. That's kind of when this phase started of, okay, I need to fix something. Like, this isn't going as well as I thought it was going to go, or things have shifted rather now. And so I'm not seeing the same results that I was seeing before. And it created this sort of panic. And everything that I did then was from this place of panic. And so in that process of really hitting rock bottom, a lot of things clarified themselves for me. One, specifically in my business, being, okay, how can I create space and ease in running this business? And the answer that ended up coming through was this desire to take a step back. And although from the outside perspective, again, it might not have looked like I did that on an energetic level, that's 1000% what happened and what is continuing to happen in 2024 as I have actually gone back into my world of marketing, which is where I worked before in the agency world. And that's where I'm kind of letting myself sink into that again a little bit, where I'm working part-time. So I have my business, things are still solidifying and growing, but the pressure to do it really, really quickly has been lifted. And it's a really interesting step to take as well, because I think for the longest time, my perspective on that would have been, well, that means that there was a failure. It means that something didn't work if you have to go back. And it's such an interesting perspective shift because there is no going back. This is a step forward. This is a step forward into expanding what I've already created up until this point, but the necessity to create space around it. And I think so much when we do goal setting and when we do striving towards the things that we want to create, again, it comes with so much pressure. And this pressure is not an ingredient that we want for success. Some pressure can maybe feel good. It can create some sort of friction or momentum. But the pressure that I'm talking about is this needing. It's this, I need to get there because it's going to fill me up in some way. It's going to mean something about me. It's going to give me a sense of worthiness and value. And we never, ever, ever, ever want to work from that place. And it's really interesting because when I was actually coming from that place, we are so good and our minds are so good at just pushing it away. And we don't really realize that that's where we're coming from with it until we can look back. And that's also why having support and coaches in your corner or people in your life who are in your inner circle are so valuable in situations like this, because they can give you that mirroring perspective of what's actually going on. So that is what's kind of shifting into 2024. Before I go into telling you all of the exciting things that are coming and the reframe around them, obviously, as well, and my word of the year and all those good things, I do want to reframe 2023 because I really just dove straight into kind of the shit show, things feeling like they weren't working, things feeling hard, things feeling like failures, which were really redirections then. But I want to hone in on all the good things that also happened because so much has changed. And I was actually saying this to my boyfriend just this weekend. Like, when I look back 1 year ago today, right before I left for my Christmas trip to Canada, my life was completely different. Like, literally, if someone had showed me a year ago, this is where you're going to be, I think I would have laughed in their face. Like, a little bit. Like, obviously, believing in the power of creation and manifestation and all those things, I would have been like, wow, that's fucking amazing. But that is not where my brain was at. And like I said before, that was kind of the beginning of this phase of things really feeling shaky and me not wanting to admit that the space was something that was needed to reset and instead just pushing onwards, right? So some really amazing things that happened this year that really came through as I reflected back was, number one, I got into the most incredible relationship of my life. That actually started end of 2022, but really solidified, brought a lot of things to the surface. It was a great example of doing the inner work, which is something that I've been doing for a really long time around relationships, manifesting this man into my life. But it really showed that the practical application then is a whole nother level, meaning that when you actually get your manifestation, when you get the thing that you want, you're going to be required to show up and continue to do the work, and more triggers or healing parts of your life, parts of your past are going to come up as you put it into practical practice, as you actually have the thing in your life and have to move through the, like I said before, triggers or past experiences or little traumas that come up around that, or big traumas that come up around that. So that was absolutely incredible. We ended up moving in together just at the beginning of December this year. And for me, this has really been a process of creating a home for myself, a sense of belonging. I moved into my own apartment in Munich back in March. And so that was also a huge milestone. And that kind of coming together with this relationship for me has been this recognition that for so much of my life, I've been moving and jumping from place to place, searching for the sense of belonging, for the sense of wanting to be part of something somewhere. That has been something that has always weighed heavy on my heart since I am part Canadian, part German, born in the US, have moved around a lot, and not really knowing, am I German? Am I Canadian? I don't know where I fit in, and kind of searching for that. It also led me to move to Mexico, move to Copenhagen, kind of be in a lot of different places and never really feeling that sense of belonging. And what came to me, this was a couple of years ago now, was this download of the sense of belonging exists within you. You create that for yourself. And so with the move back to Munich, which is where I grew up partially as well, kind of felt like coming back to my choice to be at home. And in all honesty, Munich was a place that I really rejected and I pushed it away for a long time. I had a lot of resistance here because, similarly to coming back into the world of marketing, it felt like a step backwards. And I was so determined to not take steps backwards. And sometimes that's exactly where the healing happens. And like I said before, it's not a step backwards when we can only move forwards. But that feeling of coming back to something or revisiting something can act as that way of inner healing, that question or the calling to return to something that still requires attention from within you. So huge things have happened this year. Again, coming into 2024, now being in that relationship, living together, building the business, having my job, like this whole life has unfolded itself for me. And I think in the past, this is also something I would have, or for any of us, I think it's easy to disregard certain pieces of evidence and just look at the things that aren't working. And so I really encourage you to look at the things in your life that are really working. And even if they're not working to the level that you maybe want them to be working at or that you envisioned at this point, that doesn't mean it's an all or nothing scenario or situation, right? It doesn't mean that it didn't work at all. It doesn't mean that you failed. It doesn't mean that it's not going to work. It just might mean that things are happening at a different speed or on another timeline. Or maybe there's something within you that needs attention first. Or maybe there, similar to me, is a desire to slow down a little bit more or create a little bit more space. And all of these desires are existent within you. They're intuitively guided. So if you are feeling a little bit stuck right now, or if you're feeling a little bit unclear, or maybe like you didn't hit all of your goals this year, tune into your intuition and just notice and ask it, what does it need from you right now? And if you're really honest with yourself, it might be asking for something like some space. And that's one of those really tough things to do because we don't want to give space. We just want to make the goal happen, right? But this space is going to be super, super important. And take it from me, someone who pushed through that intuitive download, the desire from my body to have the space from my mind and soul, quite honestly, also to have some distance or slow things down a little bit. And I didn't listen. And when we don't listen, what ends up happening is bigger bricks start to be thrown at us by the universe to say, hey, are you going to listen now? Are you going to listen now? And that's when little nudges become bigger hits that can ultimately also feel like a breaking point or hitting rock bottom of some sort. So here are some shifts that are coming up for 2024, and I want to tell you about my word of the year and what this upcoming phase looks like for me this year, really briefly, and just kind of giving you this information, obviously, if you're interested, so that I can share it, but also giving it to you as a little bit of a framework of what you can kind of start to look at in your life. And if you are looking to plan your 2024, I have a podcast episode from a couple of weeks ago that you can go take a listen to. And we also have a really exciting, fun event coming up in January 2024, where we are going to be mapping out your whole upcoming year as well together. So you can go check out that in the description below. So this upcoming year for me is really, truly about the spaciousness. And how I said before, how I was mentioning the story of not really giving myself that and not really acknowledging the fact that that's what my business needed too, because this thought process is always about needing to push forward, needing to take the next step. And so that's what this upcoming year is about. It's about creating space. And one of the tools that I use and I teach my clients this, I teach this in Cyclical Ascension, is the cycle of creation or the cycle of success. And there are 4 main phases that we go through for any cycle to be succeeded, to create anything that we're wanting to create. And the final phase of that is regeneration. And that is the phase of slowing down, of creating space, of being more. And that is really my main focus, at least until end of the summer next year, is to really be in that energy. There are not a huge amount of goals that I have set for the business this year. There are a few things, but they're really minor. And the main goal is truly coming back to this feeling of spaciousness, of play, of enjoying my life, of having the pleasure that comes from all the things that I'm doing. Because I really realized this year as well, with everything that I went through, I didn't want to miss out on any of the beautiful things happening in my life, like all of the fun weddings and trips that I have coming up next year, or the relationship that I'm building, and all of these really beautiful milestones. And as long as my mind is overly preoccupied, which again is that pressure, I'm also not enjoying those things. And so, really being in that space of regeneration, creating space so that clarity can come through. And in this phase of regeneration, I'm starting a really exciting certification, cycle menstrual coach certification, so I can really go deeper into this work. And that was one of the huge shifts of 2023, where I realized that the cycle syncing work that I was doing in my own life and with clients, and the journey that I've been on for over 5 years now of connecting with my womb, healing from being on the pill for so many years, is a huge part of the work that I'm meant to do here, the huge part of the transformation I want to bring into Flow. And for anyone who's been following for a while, you'll see, or you'll have seen, that there was a huge shift in topics and content that we put out in this last 6 months of 2023, where we were talking about working like a woman. And that is the Flow tagline now. We're revolutionizing the way that you work to work like a woman. And that is just going to expand and grow deeper and really, in my belief, solidify the business from that very unique perspective. So I'm super excited about that as well. With this regeneration phase that I'm talking about, this is my word for the year. And I'm actually recording this right now. It's not even Christmas yet, but I'm going to share with you the word, but I'm also wanting to just give myself permission to change it, because I am not 1000% set on it, but it does feel really, really good. And you might have even guessed it already, but the word is spaciousness. Creating spaciousness in everything that I do, and that there's no rush. And the kind of download that came through for that, and I love this so much, but this is how I'm framing my whole upcoming year, is we're clarifying for long-term quests through pleasure. That is the theme. That is the mantra. Because unlike last year, I really want to give the space for the foundations to be set. And instead of seeing this year as a sprint or something big that has to be created or built on, this can be a year of really setting the building blocks so that the long-term success is really, really successful. So I want to just share a couple lessons with you, because these are the things that resonated with me this year, the learnings that I took, and what I would love to give you moving into 2024. So the first thing is that often things need to slow down in order to speed up. And that's not something that we like to hear very much, because it feels hard and heavy, or it's not something that's natural. It feels counterproductive. But the more space you give something, the more clarity is able to come through, the more you're able to work together with the universe or the energies, or however you relate to it, that's existing around you, and you feel supported in that, and you are supported in that. Second is rejection is your redirection. So really seeing that the things that come up for you, either in this past year as you reflect, or in this upcoming year as you look forward, are really just redirecting you for your highest good and for your highest purpose. And the more you can lean back in your feminine energy, be in flow with your cycles, which allows you, it gives you that support for leaning back, the more easily you're going to be able to move through and flow through the things that come up that maybe feel a little sticky. Then we want to be showing up and working from a place of service. So we don't want to be showing up from this place of what I think I should do, but what would be the most fun. When I'm having fun, I'm in flow, and the people around me feel that. And that's what I feel with the workshops that I've started doing with the monthly cyclical flow planning workshop. And in contrast, that is not how it felt when I tried to launch a membership this year. So just noticing, like, what are you doing because you think you should do it because it's standard in your industry or because it's what everyone else is doing versus what would be really fun. And a great question is just asking yourself, what is something that, regardless of making money, or if you already had more than enough money in the world, what would you create? And what would really excite the people that you are serving? And even if it's just one person, then trust the divine timing of your life. I get that it can feel super frustrating when things aren't flowing or moving as fast as you wanted them to, or when you feel like you're doing all the right things. And yes, sometimes it can be a strategy thing where you're missing a piece of the strategy or an action to be taken. But most often, it's an energy thing. It's because you're showing up with too much pressure. It's because your nervous system isn't regulated. It's because you haven't healed some of your hustle wounds that are blocking your success. So that is part of it. And then sometimes it really is just a timing thing. And sometimes it's just about holding the vision, continuing to show up, continuing to infuse pleasure and play into what you're doing, and to stay patient. And finally, the real question is, what is the fire burning inside of you? And how can you connect with your intuition to give you the directions for what you're meant to be showing up for? Because your intuition will never lead you astray. And if you feel a deeper calling towards something, there is truly a reason for that. It is meant for you. So even in those moments where things feel really tough and heavy, or you're unsure if this is still meant for you, coming back to your intuition, regardless of what's happening around you, and letting that be that guiding North Star light for you. So I'm going to leave you with that. This is the end of 2023. We are actually going to take a break for a couple weeks for the podcast in 2024, just the beginning, so that there's, again, that spaciousness. And like I said, if you want to know what the workflow is like, how you can work with me in 2024, there's very limited availability. There's only a few offers that are going to be available. So I encourage you to go check out the link or the description in the show notes below so that you can get all that information, so that you know what's coming up, so that you can plan your upcoming year. And I also encourage you to go check out our upcoming planning workshop for 2024 so you can plan like a woman your entire upcoming year together. I'm going to show you how to do that. And I would love to hear if you have a word of the year, what that word of the year is. And if this is all super new to you, come to the workshop, come to the event, because this is going to be the place where I'm going to show you actually how to set all of this up. So wishing you a beautiful holiday season, a wonderful rest of 2023, and an incredible start to the new year in 2024. And I will see you there.